To the person who's been closer to me than anyone else this year. Thank you, Emily. That's what Nathan, my CEO, said into the mic at the annual gala, under a chandelier no one looked at, because all eyes were on her. Emily, my wife. Emily smiled like she'd just been proposed to. The room applauded. I raised my glass. Not to toast, just to signal check. I'm Miles Dalton, 45, senior client advisor at Nexora. 16 years in, married for 12. And apparently I'd been the background noise for 3 of them. Emily was in marketing strategy, West Coast portfolio. She had a talent for narrative alignment. Turns out that included aligning her schedule with Nathan's. Same hotels, same excuses. Nathan was the kind of CEO who called layoffs momentum pivots and thought radical transparency meant staging off-site meetings in glass buildings. He treated loyalty like a performance metric, useful until it got too expensive. They thought I didn't know. Thought I was just another loyal relic buried in quarterly forecasts. But I was watching. Quietly. Precisely. It started a year ago. Emily's calendar got fuzzier. Her explanations got cleaner. One night she said, "We're piloting a new workshop series." I asked where. She blinked. Said, "Chicago." Nathan had just posted a photo from a Chicago rooftop bar, tagged 34 minutes earlier. Then came the unfiled NDAs, the untouchable travel receipts, and the hotel invoice she left in her coat pocket. Room service for Mr. Nathan Bell. 3 dinners, 1 room, 2 nights, paid by Nexora. I didn't say a word, didn't storm out, didn't ask questions. Because you don't interrupt during the setup. You wait. Let them overextend. So when Nathan stood under Nexora's glowing logo and thanked my wife for being closer than anyone, I didn't flinch. Just tilted my head, like a man watching a chess clock wind down. After the applause, I stepped forward, clinked glasses with him and said, "Just loud enough for the front tables." "Well said." He smiled, clueless that I'd been removing bricks from his foundation for weeks. Emily glanced at me, a sharp, searching look. I gave her nothing. No reaction, no collapse. Just silence. The kind that's quiet now but loud later. We'd driven separately. Different roles. Different stories. Different marriages. I slipped out the side exit past the PR team faking small talk over half-eaten shrimp, pulled my coat tighter, kept walking. That night, I met Eric. He used to run finance before Nathan's vision pushed him into early retirement. We hadn't talked in a year, but when I texted, "Drink?" he replied in seconds. "Still no McKenna's?" I got there first. Booth in the back. No noise. Eric looked older, not tired, freer. We ordered the same thing we used to after late nights. Rye, no ice. He raised his glass. "To old ghosts?" I nodded. "To the ones still haunting." He leaned back. "You never liked Nathan." "I tolerated him." "Emily still working late?" I paused, just a second too long. He blinked. "Damn." Silence again. Then I said, "You ever think about coming back in?" He laughed. "You quitting?" I shrugged. "Let's call it a long walk toward the exit." Eric smirked. "You've got something brewing." I didn't confirm. Didn't need to. Before we left, I slid him a card. He looked down, read it once. Virion Capital. Anders' name. He looked up. "Didn't they drop us last year?" I nodded. Some debts age well. Back in my apartment, I checked my phone. New message. From Anders. Virion Capital. Subject confirmed. Monday, 11 a.m., room 43B. Bring the originals. I stared at the screen for a beat. Nathan and Emily thought they'd blindsided me. But they were standing on a floor I'd already pulled loose, and in 3 days, they'd feel it shift. Hard. It didn't start with lipstick or perfume, or a long hair that wasn't hers. It started with silence. Not absence. Just subtraction. Emily didn't argue anymore. She didn't ask why I got home late or why I skipped dinner. She just started filling the air with client deadlines, and Nathan asked me to revise the deck again. Normal things. Too normal. And then came the patterns. Same cities, same weeks. She'd tell me she had to be in Denver for a West Coast pitch. I'd check the internal schedule. Nathan was keynoting a fintech panel. Different events, same venue. I kept notes, not like a detective, more like a man trying to prove to himself that he wasn't paranoid. There was the time she asked me to scan an NDA. Standard stuff, she said, nothing sensitive. But the client's name was blacked out, which we never did internally. I forwarded it to myself anyway, saved it in a folder titled Loose Ends. Then came the proxy meetings. Emily used to run strategy sessions for our San Diego accounts. Suddenly, Nathan began attending in her place. I wasn't on the invite list anymore. When I asked her why, she smiled. Professional, practiced. Leadership wants tighter control on messaging. No offense. None taken. I kept collecting. 2 months ago, a junior account rep, fresh out of college, bless his lack of filter, said, "Man, Emily and Nathan are tight. They even finish each other's lunch orders." He meant it as a compliment. That night I drove home early. Emily wasn't there. Her phone was off. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the backsplash tiles we chose together 7 years ago. I waited. She came home after midnight. Smelled like a rooftop bar and something too expensive to be her usual perfume. She smiled, said, "You're up?" I said, "Just going over Q4 churn projections." She kissed my forehead. I didn't flinch, because you don't move mid-game. You watch, you wait. Then finally, the receipt. A coat she left hanging in the guest room. Dry cleaning tag still on. A crumpled hotel folio in the pocket. Not addressed to her. Room service. Mr. Nathan Bell. 3 dinners. 1 suite. 2 nights. Paid on a Nexora card. That was the final entry in Loose Ends. I didn't rage. Didn't call a lawyer. Didn't call her. Instead, I called HR. Requested a meeting. I didn't say why. Just said I wanted to discuss next steps. They assumed I was angling for a promotion or planning a transition to consulting. I wore a dark suit. Carried nothing. I sat down and said, "I'm resigning. Effective Friday." They blinked. No one resigns from Nexora without leverage or scandal. I gave them neither. I signed the exit paperwork. Politely declined the farewell post. No send-off, no cupcakes. Just silence. That night, I logged into my company account for the last time. Downloaded a report. Quarterly contract performance segmented by region and team leads. Emily's name was on 12 of them. Nathan's, on 16. I encrypted it. Transferred it to a personal device. Logged out. The next morning I was gone. No fanfare, no gossip trail, no obvious motive. Emily came home and said nothing. I made dinner. We ate in silence. She asked if I was tired. I said, "Not anymore." 3 days later, I stood outside a high-rise in Midtown Manhattan. Virion Capital's logo gleamed on the glass doors. I adjusted my tie, took a breath, and walked in. But that's not this part of the story. Not yet. Because back then, I was still the ghost of a man they thought they'd erased. They just didn't know I'd started writing my return. 1 line at a time. Virion Capital's Manhattan office didn't feel like a place that entertained second chances. Glass walls, cold air, 0 art, unless you count revenue charts as decor. But that Monday morning, I wasn't there asking for a favor. I was there offering clarity. In the lobby, Lena handed me a folder. "You sure about leading with the retention data?" I nodded. "That's where the bleeding starts." She smirked. "Reminds me of when we still used logic at Nexora." I raised a brow. "Before Ezra?" She laughed. "Before the chatbot replaced 3 departments and still spelled strategy wrong." 3 months ago, Virion had cut ties with Nexora. Official reason: strategic realignment. Real reason: Nathan. He believed loyalty was for amateurs, and replaced our long-term account lead with a bullet point deck and an AI bot that mispronounced client names. Virion didn't complain, they just vanished. But people remember who picks up the phone when it matters. And I had a record with them that Nathan couldn't fake. Room 43B had 12 chairs and no patients. Celeste Kramer, their COO, sat at the head. She was sharp, stone-faced, and didn't believe in small talk. "Dean," she said, "this isn't a pitch meeting." "It's not," I replied. "It's an adjustment." I slid the page across. A breakdown of contract inefficiencies tied to Emily and Nathan's leadership. No accusations, just performance metrics, retention curves, and buried client feedback Nexora never acted on. Celeste scanned it. Her brows moved half a centimeter. "You're saying we're bleeding money?" "I'm saying your loyalty outpaced your returns." One of the partners frowned. "We've had those accounts for 6 years. You think we just walk?" I nodded toward the data. "You're not walking. You're steering before the cliff. The accounts aren't toxic. The leadership is." A pause. Then Celeste passed the page to legal. The partner opened a laptop. Behind me, Lena had already set up the projections. She'd been laid off when Nathan called her role redundant. Apparently strategy was redundant too, judging by how many red flags she found in the contracts over the weekend. We didn't propose revenge. We proposed efficiency. Trim the fat. Realign objectives. Sunset the underperformers, the ones led by Nathan and Emily. I never said their names, just pointed at the numbers and asked one question. "Is this who you want handling your largest accounts?" Silence. Then Celeste leaned back. "Let's continue this. Same time Wednesday?" I nodded. "I'll bring projections." She stood. "Good. But if we do this, you'll be the point person." I assumed as much. Outside the room, Lena handed me back my pen. "You didn't even sweat," she said. "I've been sweating for a year," I replied. "I'm just done doing it quietly." We walked out together past the security desk. She glanced over. "You know they're gonna come after you." "I'm counting on it." She smiled. "Then I'm in." Back at my hotel, I ordered coffee, opened my laptop, and saw a new message. Forwarded. No sender. Subject. Urgent. Virion inquiry. Attached. A thread of internal panic. Nathan asking who contacted Virion. Emily suggesting legal. Legal asking if NDAs were breached. Someone from the board jumping in with, "Is Dean coming back?" Below it, one line stood out. Not from legal, not from PR, but from someone I didn't expect. "Is this personal?" I replied with 3 words. "Depends on Wednesday." Then I opened a blank tab. Time to build the deck. Nathan didn't storm into Virion's office. He didn't need to. By Tuesday, half the board already knew something was shifting. Old contracts were being reviewed. Conversations weren't being shared in Slack. And by Wednesday morning, a black town car with Nexora plates was parked in the visitor garage. He brought Emily. Of course he did. She wore white, tailored, expensive. Always her play when innocence needed a costume. I saw them through the glass wall outside Celeste's office. He was pacing, gesturing like a TED speaker, while she nodded and pressed a hand to her chest like this was all some misunderstanding that needed smoothing. They didn't see me, but Lena did. She nudged me gently with the back of her clipboard. "They came in loud," she whispered. "That's usually not a good sign." We waited by the elevators. Celeste hadn't canceled our meeting, hadn't delayed it either. At 10:59, Lena got a text. "See you at 11. No other message. So we walked in. This time, no thumb drive, no teaser. We brought binders, graphs with year-over-year losses tied to campaigns Emily greenlit, retention metrics from Jared's restructuring initiative, audit logs showing delays in escalation procedures. Lena even included anonymized client feedback, comments buried in CRM notes and auto-surveys no one at Nexora ever acknowledged. Celeste sat at the head of the table again, same expression. but her assistant this time took notes. There were 2 other board members present. One I recognized, Davison, head of compliance. The other wore a gray suit and didn't introduce himself. I began. No stories, no emotion, just the math. This isn't about grudges, it's about alignment. The numbers here, they're not trends, they're patterns, predictable ones. I slid over a page with projected attrition for Q2 if nothing changed. Lena followed with process breakdowns, service interruptions, escalations improperly routed. She spoke like she was in a deposition. Cool, factual, no edge. Celeste didn't interrupt once. At the end, she tapped her pen on the folder. We'll discuss this internally, expect an answer by Friday. That was enough. On the way out, we passed Emily. She was coming out of the restroom alone. She froze for half a second when she saw me, then tilted her head with a soft smile, the same one she used to give waiters she was about to undertip. I didn't break stride, just looked at her once and said low, "You left your playbook open." Her smile dropped half an inch. Lena didn't say a word until we hit the street. Then, badge off, she exhaled like she'd just passed a bar exam. They looked cornered, she said. I didn't respond, because looking cornered isn't the same as being out of moves. Back at the hotel, I reworked the deck, sharper this time. Every slide a scalpel, every transition a quiet cut. Then I checked my phone. 3 unread messages, all internal Nexora emails, forwarded anonymously. The subject line? Urgent. Virion meeting inquiry. Who made contact? One thread showed Emily asking legal if there was any breach of contract if a former employee initiated contact with a client. Another from Jared flagged, potential hostile interference. The last message came from someone higher up, someone who never used caps. Who was leading this meeting? I laughed. Quiet, flat. Then texted Lena. Friday's not the end, it's just the fork. I didn't know which path they'd choose, but I knew which one I was already paving. Wednesday, 11 a.m., sharp. Room 43B looked the same. Same chairs, same cold air. But this time the mood had changed. Celeste didn't wait. We reviewed your projections. No greetings, no fluff. I nodded, slid 2 printed charts across the table, side by side. Left, Emily's portfolio projected 2 quarters ahead. Red, red, orange. Right. My proposal. Realigned accounts, streamlined ops, client feedback loop. No drama. Just logic. A junior executive frowned. Some of these accounts are legacy contracts, long relationships. Long, I agreed, but not healthy. You're losing margin on 5 out of your top 10 clients. We're solving for retention when we should be solving for return. He leaned back. Celeste tapped the edge of the chart. Emily personally handled these? She and Nathan signed off, repeatedly, even after the churn started. A silence passed through the room. Then the door opened. Jared, our CEO, arrived uninvited, probably caught the calendar slot from someone on the inside. He smiled like we were old friends. Thought I'd drop in. Always good to stay close to our clients, he said to Celeste. She didn't stand. This is a closed meeting. Jared ignored it, sat down, then turned to me. Dean, I wish you'd looped us in. We could have solved this together. I didn't even blink. You were too busy redefining together. He chuckled, still sharp. Still quiet, I said, but not blind. He looked at the charts. What's this, scorched earth? No, it's pruning. Only the branches that stopped bearing fruit. Celeste interjected. We've made a decision. She looked at Jared. We'll be discontinuing the Nexora contracts by end of quarter, effective immediately on underperforming lines. Jared's jaw twitched. You understand the reputational damage? We do, she said. We've measured it, and frankly, so have your clients. Silence. He turned to me. You think this helps you? I think it helps them. I nodded toward the Virian team. That's enough for me. He stood, smiled again, this time thinner. Careful, Dean. People who burn bridges often forget how small their island really is. I stood too. Then it's a good thing I learned to swim. He left. The room didn't move until the door clicked shut. Celeste looked at me. This is permanent. You understand that? I do. Then we'll need full transition oversight by Friday. You'll have it. Lena handed her a binder, the project brief. She didn't smile, just turned to me and said, "You handled that with surgical precision. Messy hands don't build trust." We left the room, walked the hallway in silence. In the elevator, Lena finally asked, "Think he's done?" I exhaled. No. Outside, I checked my phone. One notification, from Emily. Just a subject line. "We should talk." I didn't open it, just deleted it, then turned to Lena. "We're going to need a bigger team." She nodded, already making a list. 3 weeks later, the silence was louder than any headline. No press release, no board statement, no gossip column buzz, just a reshuffled org chart at Nexora. Nathan Bell was now special advisor to the board. Emily's name no longer appeared on client portfolios, and half the contracts she used to handle had quietly been reassigned or dissolved. I didn't celebrate, didn't call anyone. I was busy setting up our 5th meeting with Virion. My title? Strategic Accounts Director, Virion North. Not a revenge role, not a get back at them gig, just a better use of my time, with people who actually listened. We weren't flashy, a lean team, all ex-Nexora, all discarded for being inefficient. Lena led analytics, Martine handled client retention, and me? I rebuilt the relationships Nathan thought were obsolete. In 3 weeks, we recovered 60% of the client value Nexora lost in a year. It wasn't vengeance. It was just correction, with interest. On Friday, I stopped by our new workspace in Flatiron. Lena was at her desk, squinting at a chart. "They're still trying to win back quantum logistics," she said. "Let them try. They're offering discounts, travel perks, even floated a custom AI assistant." I smirked. "Ezra 2.0? She laughed. "Worse. They named it Julian." Poor Julian. Probably still can't pronounce procurement. I grabbed a coffee and looked out the window. New York felt clearer now. Less noise, more signal. The phone buzzed. Private number. I picked up. A pause, then, "Hi, it's Emily." I said nothing. I saw the Virion reports. I didn't know you'd be. You didn't ask." She exhaled, softly, almost carefully. "I think we should talk, just not about work." "No." Silence. "Is that a forever no?" "It's a strategic one." Click. No anger, no scene, just clean edges and a calm exit. Back at my desk, I opened an email from Celeste. Subject: "Green light for expansion. APAC?" I replied. "Absolutely. I'll loop in Martin." Then I closed the laptop. Outside, the sky was overcast. I put on my coat, walked out, and let the door close behind me. No punchline, no final toast. Just one last thought as I stepped onto the sidewalk. Turns out betrayal's loud. Strategy isn't. The gentleman's revenge isn't loud, but it's always personal. If this felt personal, make it personal. Subscribe now, and don't miss tomorrow's story.